And we are back here on New Theory Radio, News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is a show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And what we like to do around this time on New Theory Radio is we like to let you know what's going on in the community. And if you've been paying attention to the show for the last, I guess, few months, you know that I myself am a big wrestling fan, so there's always a wrestling tie-in here on New Theory Radio. I kind of force-fit it in. But I'm super excited to have a good friend of mine, someone I used to pseudo-workout with back in the day, but not really. But I think I definitely need a workout. So, Andrew, hopefully soon I'll pop by Battle Arts to get my butt whooped. But he is a fantastic local wrestler here within the PO region. I say also a local entrepreneur as well. Would you say that?
That's fair, Nav.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll take you up on that. I will whip your butt anytime, anywhere. You know where to find me.
I do. It is my good friend Andrew McRae, aka Freedom Wallace. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us on New Theory Radio. I used to interview you on Rogers TV. Now we're on radio together.
Yeah, moving on up.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. You too, man. You actually, was it last year that you were on WWE?
I was on WWE television last year.
Yeah.
So I wrestled on 205 Live. So it was actually on the WWE network.
Oh, okay.
But it was still live.
So there's a paywall, so you have to pay to see you.
You do have to pay to see me, yes.
Well, you fought another previous guest on New Theory Radio, Buddy Murphy.
Buddy Murphy was a guest on the show.
Yeah, I got to interview him during SummerSlam, and we did. It was a great interview. Like, he gave us a good 10 minutes, and it was cool because we talked about, and you can probably relate to this too. We talked about sort of maximizing your spot, in when you're working in an organization. Like, if you're given an opportunity, really maximizing it. Mm-hmm. And at the time he was barely on TV, so this is right before he had that long run of matches with Roman and Mustafa Ali and Dan O'Brien. But it was a cool conversation. And I feel like you kind of did that when you fought him. Like, you really maximized your minutes and made things happen.
Well, I was out there for about 90 seconds.
Okay.
So I made
maximized your minute.
I made I made the most of my immediate decimation.
Yeah.
I like to think that I set him off on his current course.
Oh, you definitely did,
towards success.
Yeah, he did mention off air. He's like, oh, that Andrew McRae, he's the one that set me up.
Freedom Wallace. Yeah. None of it would have happened without. Actually, that night they called me Liam Louie.
Liam? So, did you choose your own name?
No. So Dean Malenko, for wrestling fans who may know who that is, he was the agent of the match.
Yeah.
And in the back, before we went out there, he's like, so, what do you wrestle as, kid? And I was like, Freedom Wallace, sir. And he was like,
what's that?
Yeah. He's like, Freedom? Yeah, okay, we'll come up with something for you. Yeah.
Liam Louie. That sounds like two individuals are probably working in the back, like, hey, this guy's name is Liam, he's Louie. Hey, Liam Louie, you're going out right now.
I mean, Liam's kind of like Freedom. I mean, it could be like Freedom Liam.
It's like Liam Gallagher from Oasis.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. That was my favorite band when I was a kid.
Yeah? Oh, hey, Oasis is classic. What's Story Morning Glory, man?
That's right.
Yeah, classic album. But, man, you are quite busy because not only are you a mainstay at Battle Arts Academy, shouts to Santino Marella, Anthony Corelli, who was also a guest on New Theory Radio. So there's always a recurring theme here involving you. And you just fought Anthony recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did that go?
Well, I'd like to first off say no Cobras.
Okay.
I'm upset. You got all these guys that have beat me up before. You've had them on before you had me on. Buddy Murphy. You didn't even call me to tell me that Buddy Murphy was going to be here.
I should have.
That was my chance to get back at him.
I know.
But I did just...
Next time, I'll call it. But okay. Hey, I got him. Yeah. I got him.
I'm going to jump him in the parking lot. I did just fight Santino Marella, or Anthony Corelli.
He went by Anthony Corelli because it's like he's back to being like a shooter now.
Well, he did go by Anthony Corelli.
Yeah.
The WWE does own the name Santino Marella.
Yes.
But he did wrestle, you could say, in the style of Santino Marella wrestling us. Okay. So I did get snake bitten. I fell victim to the Cobra, as did my tag team partner, Bradford Montague.
Oh, yes.
And Anthony actually brought back his former tag team partner, Vladimir Kozlov.
Yes. Who's jacked.
Oh, man. It was like fighting a Russian super soldier. I managed to avoid any serious contact with him. I sent my cousin into battle with the super soldier, but yeah. We spent a good part of the match beating up Anthony, though. It was great.
That's cool. That's good. It's cool to get one up on your coach, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like you're idols become your rivals?
He had everything that we gave him coming to him.
Okay.
Oh,
good.
yeah. He deserved it.
A little stiff action. Also, I want to reiterate, when I call him a shooter, he's not actually a shooter. He's a shooter is a type of term that we use for pro wrestlers that mainly use submissions, I guess. Yeah.
Right. So growing up, he was big in judo, obviously. So he's a real martial artist. And professional wrestling is the bread and butter of Battle Arts Academy, but it's also a martial arts gym. Almost all the pro wrestlers cross-train in the martial arts classes.
Because you do judo as well.
I did do a lot of judo for a long time. I've kind of stepped back a little bit because it takes a lot you have to focus your energy on what you really want to do. But yeah, I progressed to blue belt rank in judo.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Anthony loves throwing people around.
Well, I guess you loved throwing him around last week. So
it was awesome. Yeah.
That's great, man. But Battle Arts has another show coming up this weekend. It's the Rising Stars show.
Yeah, so that's Saturday. Saturday night, October 5th, will be Battle Arts Rising Stars. So I wrestled Anthony on the Battle Arts Pro show.
Yes.
So he's trying to elevate some of the students that are now ready to be showcased.
Awesome.
And presenting them in this professional light with his new Battle Arts Pro brand. So now there are two different types of shows. Battle Arts Pro, I believe, will be bi-monthly, and we still have our monthly Rising Stars show.
That's great, man.
Which is for the students of every level. So you'll get brand new beginners in the ring, but you'll also get the champions will wrestle on both Battle Arts Pro and Rising Stars, so you do get experienced wrestlers. It's still a worthwhile, entertaining time.
And your cousin Bradford will be on that show as well?
I don't know that Clan Freedom will have recovered from the Cobra strikes in time to be on the Rising Stars shows. It's actually quite likely that you will not see Freedom Wallace or Bradford Montague.
It was that bad, eh?
At Battle Arts for the remainder of 2019 on the Rising Stars show.
Really?
I may recover in time to resurface in 2020 and exact some vengeance upon Santino Marella once again.
Well, what I was saying earlier when I did my intro is that you have other shows that you do,
right?
In Toronto at the Junction, which isn't too far from here, actually. If you go further down Eglinton, eventually you get to the Junction. I think so.
It's a worthwhile trip.
Yeah, it definitely is, because it's Junction City Wrestling,
correct?
And what's cool about this is, because I remember you and I bumped into each other randomly during like TIFF week. I think we were both in downtown Toronto at the Senator.
We went to the Senator Diner. Did you enjoy your breakfast that day?
Of course. Did you enjoy yours? Because it was your first time.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, it was really good. You know what? I'm going to shout out my girlfriend Carly too. We were there, and you were there.
Yeah, with my wife.
With your wife.
She's fully pregnant. Yeah.
And we all enjoyed. We all enjoyed it.
It was a worthwhile meal.
We actually wound up in the booth side by side, which was hilarious.
Yeah,
because we talked out front, and we were like, "All right, man, great to see you. We'll be in touch." And then we got seated first. We sat down. We saw the open booth. Yeah, and then we were both like, my girlfriend and I were like, I bet you that they're going to get that seat right there. And then sure enough, they boothed you. And then we kind of awkwardly didn't interact during the meal until it was finished. And then
which is fine, because I find that with during meals, it can be a bit hard. But
no, totally. I didn't want to talk to you anyway.
But we did talk about, when we were both waiting for our table, we did talk about these awesome shows that you put together. You've been doing it for quite some time, right?
Yes. So the first Junction City Wrestling show was July of 2017.
Yes.
And if people do want to see me wrestle this weekend, they will be able to. So the show is on Sunday at Junction Craft Brewing, which is up in the Junction, sort of the Stockyards neighborhood.
Man.
The address is 150 Symes Road. The show starts at 2 p.m.
All right.
There's
the hard sell.
Yeah, there's tons of information on the internet. But brief history. Started by pairing up with another brewery called Shacklands Brewing Co. So I approached them in early 2017. In that brewery, there's a ton of like memorabilia, and the main guy behind the bar, Dave, he's got a shelf of everything.
Yeah.
So I had already approached a couple other places about having shows in the neighborhood. It's something I wanted to do for several years.
Totally.
So sitting there inside Shacklands one day, knowing I wanted to bring the subject up, I was looking at the shelf of everything, and I noticed a Brutus the Barber Beefcake collector cup.
Really?
So that was my segue to be like, hey, I see you have a Brutus Beefcake collector cup. Have you ever thought about having a wrestling show in the parking lot?
He
was like, bam, let's do it. So we had 3 shows the first summer. They were all free outdoor shows in the parking lot of 2017. Then 2018, we did 2 more free shows in the parking lot. And then off the success of those 5 outdoor shows, I finally graduated out of the parking lot inside the Junction Craft
That's
Brewery.
awesome.
So this one coming up on Sunday will be the 3rd show inside the brewery.
Excellent.
We've also had 1 show in a venue called 3030, which is at Dundas and High Park, right in the middle of the Junction.
That's actually close to where I currently live.
Right smack dab in the middle. And we did do another free outdoor show this year as well.
Excellent.
And there's a pocket of 3 breweries there. So there's Shacklands, Reinhard, and Junction Craft.
Yeah.
And this year was the first year I managed to get all 3 of the breweries to work together
awesome.
Co-present the show with me.
Yeah.
And then they all serve outside, and the shows are totally family friendly, geared towards kids, really.
Yeah.
But also like dads that maybe now they have like a 5-year-old and they used to love wrestling in 1988.
Yeah.
So it's right up their alley. But also I want to appeal to people that aren't necessarily wrestling fans. Like I want everyday people to just be able to come out, enjoy the show, and just have an entertaining experience, occupy their kids, and of course drink the delicious local craft beer.
Well, I was gonna say,
Junction Craft Brewing.
Like beer's a great entryway for that.
That's I'm really just selling beer. I'm like selling beer and a fun experience, and then I get in the ring and I basically trick people into coming to a wrestling show.
Man, whatever.
And then show up with my cousin in our kilts, and they're like, "What am I watching? This is great." Yeah,
keep drinking.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what we're watching.
But that was the basis of the conversation that you and I were having at the Senator outside while we're waiting to get seated. Was I've been noticing this like interesting movement around local wrestling shows. Like obviously there's your local independents that take place at community centers, and in your case with Battle Arts, at the actual gyms where people train. But you're starting to see wrestling pop up at like interesting venues. Like I know in Vaughan, the guys at Destiny have done like the Pizza Fests, and then I was also at the Taste of Italy, and there was like a wrestling show taking place. Like Super Kick Live has done shows like during Ozfest, like on Ossington, which is like super hipster. Like you're starting to see like these wrestling rings pop up and these wrestling shows taking place at places like at breweries and festivals. And what I love about it is there's always a crowd. Like there's always people interested, because that to me is, like, if anything, is helping wrestling become even more enticing for people, because it's almost like, to your point, like there's probably fans that haven't seen it in a very long time that all of a sudden if they're walking by a professional wrestling ring and they're seeing 2 guys go at it, they're like, wow, this is kind of cool. Yeah,
and there's pro wrestling's a lot like film in many ways. But I often say it's a lot like film because there's all kinds of different genres and a whole bunch of different audiences.
Yeah,
and there's a wrestling show out there for everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are deep down
100%.
Sort of hate to admit it or won't say it out loud.
Like,
a lot of people love wrestling.
I was a big fan, and then I got out of it because my friends thought it was weird.
Yeah.
I want to get back into it.
Well, that's another thing. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, even last night, somebody was like, oh, so you do the phony stuff. I was like, yeah, I guess I'm a phony.
Oh, you're that guy. You're the guy that pretends, right?
But, I think pro wrestling's had a bad rep for a long time. And I feel if some of the more rigid, old school minded professional wrestling people would be more open to admitting, like, it's obviously not a secret that wrestling is performance art. It's theater. It's entertainment.
It is, totally.
But I feel like that needs to be a more accepted view for everybody, and just be like, this is entertainment. This is a performance. Yeah, everybody trains like athletes. We are all athletes. It is exceptionally dangerous. It takes a toll on your body, absolutely. But at the end of the day, our goal is to elicit the biggest response from the audience. It's not to actually beat up your opponent, really. Ultimately, we don't want to hurt each other.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the last thing we want. We want to get in, get out, and don't get hurt.
It's sort of becoming hipster again, like, or it's sort of becoming hipster in general. Like, I find that it's like counterculture to be a pro wrestling fan, especially now. And one of the things I did want to pick your brain about is not only do you have big shows taking place this weekend, but this week in general in pro wrestling is huge with the fact that AEW, All Elite Wrestling, starting on Wednesday, and there's NXT, which is now airing live each and every Wednesday, which is great news for someone like yourself who's trying to crack into the system. But those promotions, like the fan base of that is like people that are, I would say for the most part, are like diehard fans, but they're almost like your indie rock fans. Like they're very much, as much as some of those athletes could be geared towards children, it's a very mid-older, like older millennial crowd that's attending these types of shows that are becoming more and more passionate about pro wrestling and treating it like you're, seeing like your favorite indie band and supporting them. Like, do you find that, especially with these brewery shows, that you're getting a very distinct audience coming out outside of the kids that you're obviously appealing to that are very much into the counterculture aspect of it?
I don't think we're particularly getting the typical wrestling audience.
Yeah.
We do get some of the typical wrestling audience, but I'd say Junction City Wrestling is an atypical wrestling audience.
Yeah.
Because we're getting like moms, and especially for the free parking lot shows where you can hear the commotion for miles around.
I bet.
And families will just come wandering up.
Yeah.
And we got like dogs and grandmas and like 3-year-olds and 90-year-olds and people of all walks of life.
Yeah.
The brewery shows are a mix, so you'll get both the typical audience and the atypical audience.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying in terms of the demographic that is into NXT and AEW. It is a lot like the indie rock audience.
It is.
And
it's becoming cool to be a fan of this thing. Like even like New Japan. Like it's almost, if you are a fan of these promotions that aren't necessarily the mainstream WWE that's on Monday and now Fridays, it's almost cool to admit that.
Yeah.
Like I find that my brother, who's my photographer, like he calls himself an NXT fan because I think he's somewhat embarrassed to be a Raw and SmackDown fan. But
so I was going to make that point as well. I feel like the WWE over time, it's a combination of them alienating some of their fan base with their repetitive product, and it's just too easy to know what's going to happen, and it's always disappointing.
Yeah.
And also, there's that element too of like, well, I don't like these shows anymore. But also there's a element of like people just not growing up.
I know, that's true too.
So there's like, I'm sorry, wrestling fans, but there's a lot of grown man children that just...
Hey, I was just at SummerSlam weekend. I saw a lot of that. I might have been one of those guys. Who knows?
Yeah, they're just like, no, I didn't want Bill Goldberg to wrestle. I didn't want him to win like that. But I can remember even... the way I watch wrestling is way different now.
Yeah.
I mean, I hardly do. I should probably be watching more wrestling.
Well, because you're in the industry, so you're obviously watching it for different things, right?
If I watch Junction City Wrestling more than any other program, which you can, of course, check out on our YouTube channel.
Oh, nice.
Please go and subscribe. We are in our 3rd season of Junction City Wrestling.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
This Sunday, we will film the season finale of Season 3. We are staging a wedding. There may be a flying saucer that crashes into the brewery. There may or may not be a wrestler that arrives in the flying saucer.
Wow, really?
A lot's going to happen.
Wrestling weddings are the best weddings.
Oh, yeah. And you know that obviously nothing will go wrong and everything will be perfectly fine.
Wrestling weddings are the most... If you're going to have any type of wedding, you want to have a wrestling wedding.
Yeah. I actually, I don't want to give away all my secrets, but I own the web domain wrestlingweddings.com.
Do you actually?
And maybe somebody listening out there is interested, but I know there's a market out there for people that want to get married in a ring. Plus there's like the double entendre, like ring, wrestling ring, diamond ring, so on and so forth.
Wow.
You could have the referee.
Andrew, you're quite the sales guy, man.
You could have the referee officiating the wedding. Does anyone object to these two being wed? Of course, here comes the villain. And there's a market for like bachelor parties. Like,
that's
do
awesome,
the guys want to like learn how to body slam each other the week before the wedding, or like spend an hour in the ring?
Yeah.
But
kudos to you for thinking about these things differently, because the way you're kind of describing some of these ventures is definitely somewhat appealing to sort of the generation of now. Like, it's almost like these unique experiences that people are experiencing that want one of a kind times of their lives versus, it's like when you ask someone, hey, I want to go to a pro wrestling show, it's like, yeah. I'm actually being told that we're running out of time, Andrew, but I do want to give you like a minute to promote again what you're doing this weekend, and where can people reach out to you?
So they can find me specifically online at the handle at Freedom is McRae.
Nice.
So Andrew McRae. I'm also, of course, Freedom Wallace. So that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Freedom Wallace. I'm there. And then Junction City Wrestling. They can go to junctioncitywrestling.com. Right now, that just leads to the ticket sale page for this Sunday's Oktoberfest event, which is,
love the name,
once again inside the Junction Craft Brewery at 150 Symes Road in Toronto. The show starts at 2 p.m. Tickets are $20, and if you're listening now and you do go online, you can enter the code Diamond Ring at checkout and save 20% off of your tickets to the show. And then they can also follow Junction City Wrestling on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestle Junction, and of course on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch every single episode that's ever been posted of Junction City Wrestling and get up to date with the goings on.
I told you, you're really good at maximizing your minutes.
Thank you. Did I hit the minute?
You did. That's Andrew McRae, Gay Freedom Wallace, and also definitely check out Battle Arts Rising Stars on the Saturday as well.
Oh yeah, Battle Arts Academy, Santino Marella, they're great. None of this would be possible without him, of course.
I'll include that information as well in the podcast description. And this actually concludes this week's episode of New Theory Radio, but if you want to connect with me, it's at Nanwa on Twitter, at Nav Nanwa on Instagram. If you want to connect with New Theory Radio, it's at New Theory Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, this episode will repeat tomorrow, Monday at 8 p.m., and will also be online on Spotify and iTunes but tomorrow morning. Thanks again, and you will hear all of us next time. Peace.